Hi, everybody. My name is Carrie Elkin, and we're about to get started with a Yoga Intro 101 class. That's actually a 4-part series. This is the actual kickoff class. So I welcome you to find a quiet spot with the mat. If you have a chair, depending if you have injuries, I'll be showing you some modifications using the chair, maybe some blocks like I have, or you can have some pillows depending on your flexibility. That might be great to have as well. So if you have any questions or injuries or anything you want to comment about, feel free to comment in the section on the side and I'll get back to you. Otherwise, we'll get started in a couple of moments. We are going to start in a seated position. So whether it's on a chair or on the ground, you choose. Today, we're going to be covering 8 limbs of yoga. So most people know yoga as the poses. And yes, we'll definitely do some poses. We're going to do 7 poses a week. If you sign up for this, actually, whether or not you sign up for this, the kickoff class, if you signed up, you'll get the first 7 poses. We're going to cover all 7 poses today, and then you'll have an opportunity to learn more about each pose every day. So 1 pose a day. So by the end of this series, you'll have learned 30 poses and not just how to do them, but a little bit more of the insides of what the poses are meant to do for you. So we'll get started in just one moment. This series, this kickoff class, will be available for replay too. So one of the reasons that I love virtual classes is you can come back and do it when works for you. You can do it in your own space. I often find I've been teaching yoga for since about 2005. And I find that most people almost want to be in their own space to do it, to learn it. And then after 4 classes, you'll be ready to go to any class, whether it's continuing virtual classes. I do yoga on the lake, May through October in New Jersey, or somewhere else. You'll have the foundation to feel comfortable in a yoga class. Any class. It could be, this is really the beginner class, so it could be any class after that. All right, so let's get started. We're going to start out in a comfortable seated pose. So it could look like this. This isn't one of the poses for the 7, but this isn't one of the 7 poses for this week. So it could be started like this. This is easy seated pose, thumb and pointer touch, which we'll get into that another time. Or just nice and comfortable on your chair, rooting your feet down, thumb and pointer touch. Take a moment to close your eyes and take 3 nice deep breaths. Inhale through your nose, exhale through your mouth. 2 more just like that. Inhale through your nose, exhale through your mouth. Last one. Then let's begin nose breathing. Inhale through your nose, exhale through your nose. So a lot of times I find that people mouth breathe. Yoga practice is a practice of mindfulness. So maybe the hardest thing that you'll learn during this series is to mindfully catch yourself when you're mouth breathing. When you're mouth breathing, you're in a stressed out state. So lesson number 1 is nose breathe. Your breath is the number 1 most important part of your yoga practice. So while you sit here with your breath, this is an intro class. I'm going to go over some basic things. So like I mentioned, this series coordinates with 30 poses in 30 days challenge. So that's why it's important that you signed up, and I'm guessing that you did since you received this link to watch this class. Each day, you'll receive an email that will teach you all about the pose of the day. So today we'll practice 7 poses that you'll receive this week. Next week, you'll practice 7 more. So by the end of our time together, you'll have the foundation for about 30 poses and the insight into them. So I say over 30 because we won't cover too much detail on poses such as easy pose that you're in right now. So that's our first pose of the day. So we also won't cover our second pose, which I'll show you in a moment too. So most yoga classes start out with what's called a Dharma talk, and that's basically a focus for the practice. Since this is the Kickoff 101 class, you already know where the Dharma talk is headed. It's headed talking about yoga, the intro to it. So while the 101 class is meant for everybody, I also have some more specialized classes that are free to you to watch on my yoga page and are meant for you or meant to meet you where you're at in life right now. So some people are more athletic, some people are pregnant, some people, well, really everybody is aging. So that's a good class for everybody. But if not, I do have the yoga for everybody class. So first, signing up for this kickoff class, you'll receive my How Yoga Heals class, which you can scroll through and is the foundation for this series. If you haven't, you should receive it sometime today. So lastly, we're going to be covering yoga on the mat during our series. So besides covering that, you'll quickly learn that what we learn on the mat is, which might feel like a stretch class, will hopefully become a weekly reset and guide to help you live a healthy life off of the mat. Because what we practice on the mat is meant for off the mat. And which off the mat is essentially our everyday life. Upon conclusion of the series, you'll have the opportunity to join me for 3 weeks of yoga, should you wish to continue this. And also my 28 to Elevate program, which will start next month, which is inspired by Ayurveda, and that's the sister science of yoga. So you'll learn more about that. I'll send you that upon conclusion of this today as well. Okay, so what is yoga? If you have any thoughts already in your head, what yoga is, please feel free to comment it. I'd love to hear what people come into yoga thinking that it is. Yoga is, in fact, an ancient practice that incorporates many aspects of both our physical body and our mentality. Yoga literally means union. So during our practice of yoga, we're going to be aiming to unify different areas of our lives and our bodies and bring them back to a state of balance. So if I were to describe yoga in one word, it would be balance. So why is yoga important? For many of us, the pressures of the world is an unnecessary stress, anxiety, and they cause a variety of imbalances, which present themselves regularly in the form of both physical and mental illnesses. Even for those of us who are relatively balanced, or think they're relatively balanced, it's a good state of health. With the way that the modern world works today and how it's been increasingly difficult to maintain this state of consistency, and also confidence and energy it requires to go about daily life, yoga just kind of helps you bring you back to this healthy state. Yoga and meditation are simply meant to return us to our natural state, find balance. So recharging to find balance. That's one thing that I use for yoga, and I've been using yoga for my personal practice, is to recharge to find balance. I like to think of my yoga meditation practice as a way of recharging my body and my brain. So for me, it's a way to make sure that my breath and my mind are in the most stable and secure place they can be before moving into daily tasks or kicking off my week, depending when I'm doing my yoga classes. There are responsibilities that I might not complete. So if I didn't do my yoga class, I might not feel as complete or guided to a healthy state. So it's a perfect place to find balance and recharge. And I highly recommend doing yoga once a week, at least. So you'll return to your natural state. In this sense, we can consider the regular practice of yoga. It helps us align further with the natural state of being, your authentic self. So yoga is not trying to control you to be anything, but to find who you authentically are. And to help you find what your honest needs and wants in fact are. and that's the state of balance. So it's really important to make it a weekly practice. All right, the science of yoga. So for those of us who are still skeptical about yoga, there's actually, in fact, a science behind it. I have a quote for you. Where the mind goes, energy flows. And that's by Everett Newell. He wrote the book Power of Now, which I highly recommend. So this is a big one. When it comes down to it, the mentally invigorating aspect of yoga is basic neuroscience. Yoga helps us in becoming aware of the reprogramming of our mental tendencies to think or act a certain way. So as they deal with the neural pathways in the brain and the relationship with human behavior, neuroscientists' studies show that the energy required to keep certain neural pathways for your everyday sense are repeated in human behaviors can be redirected over the course of time. It's from this information that they can note the changes in the brain when subjects are trying to make large-scale lifestyle changes, such as breaking an old healthy habit, recovering from mental illnesses, embarking on a new regimen, etc. So that brings me to my question to you right now. What brought you to yoga class? What's something in your life that you want to change? What's not going well? So it's really fascinating to consider yoga in terms of our brain, what actually goes on, and with the signals and signs we unconsciously process up there. I'll link some articles in my series to you so that you can continue to learn. So you'll not just learn about the poses, but you'll learn some deeper stuff. Yoga does, in fact, have a sister science, which I mentioned before, is called Ayurveda, and I call it yoga off the mat. The ancient practice of Ayurveda, which translates to the science of life, and it's the inspiration for my monthly off the mat challenges and themes. And I have an intro class for that as well. So yoga as a lifestyle, which is what Ayurveda in fact is, can honestly change the way you feel about your life. Whatever your circumstances, whatever maybe you just came up with in your mind that you would like to change in your life, it's there to help improve your relationships, your body image, improve your strength, your fitness, and so much more. The list really does go on. When combined with a healthy, balanced diet, regular sleeping pattern, yoga will have amazing effect on both the mental and your physical health. You'll become calmer, more productive, have more energy, and have the clarity to make better decisions, aiming towards goals that you want in your life. So take note of something that you do want to change in your life. And maybe one of those things that I just said, finding more calm or peace. How do you want to feel after doing yoga class? That's actually how we come up with our intention. So we'll take a moment for that right now. So close your eyes and take note of first what that change is that you'd like about yourself. Something that you'd like to change. It could be weight loss. It could be anything. It could just be like finding more peace in my life. Take a nice deep breath. And after taking that breath, how does that make you feel? How do you want to feel at the end of today's class? End of the series? Come up with one word that would describe that. More calm, more peaceful, more relaxed, more flexible. What's one word to describe that? That's called your intention. We're going to keep this intention, this word with us for the remainder of today's class. Maybe over the next 4 weeks, you can keep the same intention. This is the start of your practice in affirmations as well. So for today's affirmation, it's going to be what you just came up with, your intention. So if your intention was, I want to be more peaceful, that's going to be what you're going to repeat in your head. And that's going to be your affirmation. I am peaceful. I am whatever that word is. So anytime your mind wanders, you're going to bring it back to your breath. Make sure you're inhaling and exhaling through your nose. And then you're going to repeat, ingrain it in your head, in your brain, whatever that affirmation is. So I have a couple more things to go over before we begin. Keep that word with you, have that affirmation with you, keep breathing. So physical health. A regular practice in yoga has countless benefits for our physical health. And here's some examples. Increase flexibility, increase muscle strength and tone, improve respiration, energy and vitality, maintaining a balanced metabolism, cardio and circulatory health, improved athletic performance, protection from injury. Maybe that's one of the things that you'd like to change. So you can change around your affirmation or intention as needed. Many doctors and health professionals now recommend yoga as part of a recovery and physio program. And this could mean that yoga has a special place in terms of preventive medicine practices today. So helping yourself prevent injury prevention. And also mental health. So physical health and mental health should be even. And maybe we're eventually getting to that place. Or at least we see it more prevalent out there. Yoga has many immense healing effects when it comes to our mental health and well-being, even if you're not among the 1 in 5 adults today who have experienced difficulties regarding your mental health. I'm sure you'll at least be aware of someone who has. Many psychotherapists and psychologists are prescribing yoga to combat the symptoms of illnesses such as anxiety, depression, eating disorders, PTSD, bipolar disorder, ADHD, insomnia. Some of the mental health benefits of a regular yoga practice include increased body awareness, relieve stress, reduce muscle tension, strain, inflammation, sharpened attention and concentration, calm central nervous system, mental clarity, improved cognitive function. Maybe these are some things that you didn't think of before that you'd like to change in your life. So again, go back to adjusting your intention as needed. So I do have a couple of kickoff classes that I do twice a year for each. So once on seasonal affective disorder, depression, one on anxiety, and one on stress. I feel like those are the 3 biggest mental health issues that most Americans face, and is close to my heart as well. So if you know someone that's struggling with any of these, I welcome them to watch the replay of my mental health classes. They can just get that at yoginicarey.com, mental wellness. Okay, so let's begin. I promised you poses, but yoga is more than just the poses. So a little history of yoga theory is called the 8 limbs of yoga. These aren't rules, should never be considered so, but to really incorporate yoga into your life, I recommend using these 8 limbs as guidelines, which can help live a healthier, happier, and more balanced life. So while the poses are number 3, we're going to start with what number 1 and 2 are. The first one is called the yamas. These are values and disciplines. They're ethical standards of how to conduct yourself in daily life behavior with ourselves and others. They're also called the restraints, some things like kind of not to do. You can kind of explain it at. There's 5 yamas. So this is limb number 1 of 8, and there's 5 of them. Today we're just going to focus on 1. I'm going to read off all 5 of them right now, though. Ahimsa, Satya, Asteya, Brahmankara, and I'm really bad with this one. Apagarahara. I'll learn it by that final week. Okay, so the first one, as I promised, is called Ahimsa and is a perfect way to start your yoga practice. Ahimsa means no harm, thoughts, and by no harm, I mean your thoughts and not listening to your ego. So in yoga, there's 2 parts of your mind, you and your ego, that thing in your head that's like, you could do it anyway, or is like, it's like a bad roommate that you live with. So during today's class, I want you to be mindful not to bring that ego into this practice. So obviously no harm means not hurting others. That's how you can use it in everyday life. But there's many ways that you can not harm people in your everyday life. Like when you're mean to someone with your words, or You just like are very disrespectful to people. There's so many ways that you could be mean to people. But for today, I want you to focus on no harm to yourself, because I feel like that's something we don't focus on enough. That can be brought up by self-talk, mean things that you say to yourself, letting ego control the way. So for today, maybe for the week, practice no harmful thoughts and actually taking this time to counteract that. Come up with a positive thought. So close your eyes, take a nice deep breath, and say something nice about yourself. This is what you're going to remind yourself of as you catch any negative thoughts that come to your mind, either today during practice or throughout your week. All right, so the yamas are the restraints. That's limb number 1. We're practicing no harm this week and today. And number 2 is the niyamas. These are duties and observances to cultivate happiness and self-confidence. So again, there's 5 of these: Saucha, Santosha, Tapas, Svadhyaya, and Apara. Today we're going to focus on Saucha, which is cleanliness. That's in fact what it means. And this is a perfect way to start, because this is really a practice in mindfulness. You want to select wisely from the many choices of food, emotions, and thoughts that want to come into your body and mind. As the body becomes purified, you'll experience radiant health. As the mind becomes purified, you'll feel increasingly clear, friendly, and cheerful. So Saucha this week is all about being mindful of what you do, what you're eating every morning, what you're eating at lunch, at dinner. But also, it's not just about diet. It's about all ways that things can come into your body. So what you see, surround yourself by more positive people, watch more positive things on TV, do more positive activities. Just practice being mindful of practicing yoga weekly is a practice in Saucha. What you put on your skin, be mindful not to overload yourself with perfumes and fake fragrances. So just being mindful of what comes into you, what you hear, things that you say. So there's so many ways that we could be more mindful of kind of keeping it clean, keeping our body clean. And that's Saucha. Okay, so number 1 was the yamas. Number 2 is the niyamas. Number 3 is the asana, the postures. So since we're moving on to postures, I am going to put you into a new posture while I move into the next couple of limbs. So we're going to move into what's called the cat-cow flow. And again, this isn't part of the 7 poses this week. Cat-cow, you're going to be on all fours. Wrists under your shoulders, knees under your hips. Round your spine, this is cat. Drop your belly, open your heart, this is cow. Exhale, cat. Inhale, cow. So you're articulating your spine, moving your vertebra one at a time. Exhale, inhale. Close your eyes and do this. Exhale, inhale. If for some reason you have anything going on with your knees or anything, you could do the same pose seated. That's why I have my chair here. So on your seat, come forward, round your spine, cat. Open your heart, cow. Cat and cow. So it should feel the same way. And hey, this is something you could practice at work, that seated one. Do that at your desk, that cat-cow. So continue that a few more times on your own. As you're moving and breathing, that brings me to number 4. The 4th limb is breathing. That's called pranayama. So we have the yamas, the niyamas, the asana, which is the poses, and the pranayama, which is the breathing exercises. So moving into our 5th limb is pratyahara, which is sensory withdrawal. So over the next few weeks, we're going to take one sense at a time. For today, we're going to focus on our sight and our eyes. And that's why a couple of times today, I've already told you to close your eyes. That's withdrawing from your sense of sight. That's our most dominant sense. So as you're moving in your cat-cow flow, close your eyes and really just follow your breath. And here's an example of why it's important to close your eyes. So if you spend a day out at like the mall or just out, a lot of activity going on, you're tired. And you're like, wow, why am I so tired? I was just at the mall shopping a little today and it was only a couple hours. It's because we lose energy by looking through our eyes. That tires us out in itself. So an easy way to get back some energy during the day, just to close your eyes. Okay, so we're going to move into limb number 6, which is dharana, focus concentration. So I've already been practicing that with you, and that's using our breath. So that one breath, one movement is focus concentration, mindfulness. So we practice mindfulness off of the mat while we're doing our niyamas and our yamas, but we're also practicing it during class through focus concentration of today, the breath. And actually, we've also been practicing it a little bit with that affirmation that we came up with. Okay, so that's number 6, focus concentration. Number 7 is dhyana, which is meditation. So you can come back to a comfortable seated position. Meditation, I do that as a separate series. So I have what's called a 3-week meditation challenge that you can complement this. Maybe a nice follow-up to Intro to Yoga series is the Intro to Meditation series that I do. So while we won't go too much into that because it's its own separate practice, I do have a meditation that I will send to you once a week that you can kind of practice and start using meditation right away. And then number 8, we couldn't possibly get into during this class because number 8 is samadhi, which is bliss and enlightenment. So just like when you learn to ride a bike, maybe the first time you actually don't ride it. You have to practice, and eventually you'll be riding with no hands. That's really what samadhi is. That's trying to reach your bliss and or enlightenment, whatever that is for you. So probably by me saying that, you understand why we can't possibly completely cover that. But by using steps 1 through 7 that I mentioned above, that's your steps to bring you to samadhi. So you'll notice that the asana, the physical postures, and the pranayama, the breath work, which we've already discussed, are 2 of the 8 limbs. Dhyana is another one, the meditation, so I'm sure you've heard of that as well. And maybe many of you have already heard of mindfulness. So maybe you learned of 4 new limbs that completes the full what yoga is, not just the poses. And hopefully that just opens up to your eyes that yoga is more than poses. Okay, so personal practice and clarity. The comparison is the thief of joy. The reason that I'm bringing this up is because remember, number 1 of our limbs, yamas, ego, when we compare ourselves to others. So maybe I can do a handstand and maybe you can't do a handstand. If you're saying to yourself always, wow, I wish I can do what she can do. You're stealing from yourself. You're being mean to yourself. You're being harmful to yourself. And remember, ahimsa is all about practicing no harm. So one thing you should never, ever do in a yoga class is compare yourself. Comparing ourselves to other people, other bodies, other minds, and other life's journeys. This is ultimately where dissatisfaction and unease with our current situation arises. Yoga and meditation teaches us to sit with ourselves, with our problems, with our troubles, with our experiences at any given time, and allow them to just be. That's the present moment. That's your practice in mindfulness as well. Instead of wishing otherwise or that someone or something else, looking towards someone or something else to solve our problems, we must sit with our own worries, gain a clearer understanding of them, and trying to help and heal from within, not expecting from others. So this clarity in turn leads to a more balanced approach to solving your problems or implementing strategies to change. All of this combined with a stronger, more mobile body that yoga will help us cultivate is ultimately improving every aspect of how we interact with the world. This is how yoga can be life changing. All right, so we're going to begin with our physical practice. So, our physical practice, while most people perceive yoga as a physical practice, which is beneficial for our bodies, many Western interpretations have completely forsaken the internal, the spiritual, and the meditative side, which is also vital to gain a proper understanding of yoga. So, yes, yoga is a physical practice, or most of the time, especially in our country, it's a physical practice, but it has endless benefits for our bodies that can help promote a healthier, stronger, leaner, and lighter physical physique. But it's also much more than that. And during our series together, our time together, I hope you'll understand the benefits of the whole practice, not just the side that you see on social media and maybe your preconceived notions of what that is. So, type of poses. So, as we're moving into the poses, asanas or poses are the face of yoga. They are what everyone recognizes. They are the physical forms we move our body into when we practice yoga. And they're mostly grouped into the following categories. So, you'll have forward folds. Anytime you're folding forward, whether you're seated, standing, forward folding. Inversions every time you're upside down, which I'll give you a sneak preview that if you'd like to continue with inversions, you'll have that opportunity to get upside down. There's an inversion for everybody. I have a series for that you can take your practice to inversions should you like. And that's being upside down. Anytime you're upside down, hanging your head, even when you're in the forward fold, that's a type of inversion as well. You're letting blood flow to your head. And if you just happen to open your eyes while you're upside down in one of the inversions, it's a way to see the world differently. So inversions are a great way to shift your perspective. So we're set and seeing things a certain way, get upside down and shift your perspective. Back bends. So anytime that we're opening our heart. So we just did the cat-cow flow. When we were in cow pose, that was a type of back bend. Usually our back bends fold down towards the floor, but that is also a back bend. Back bends, we're trying to open up our heart. Twists, anytime we're twisting our spine, you can try a couple of twists right now in the easy seated position, following your breath. Inhale, twist one way. Exhale, twist the other way. Inhale, exhale. Keep going just like that. So anytime we twist, I use twisting usually for like detoxing classes. When we're twisting our spine, you should think of it like a wet washcloth. You're kind of wringing out old energy, or even twisting on your belly a little bit, which gut, so cleaning out your gut a little bit. Some other poses, we have standing poses. So a lot of these overlap each other. So in the forward fold, we were standing, but then we fell forward. We could do practice in tree poses for standing. So anytime we're standing up, seated poses, the reverse, and also lateral side angle poses. So we'll try one of those right now too. So we twisted side to side, but we also have side angle poses where we can reach one way and then the other way. So really just rocking side to side, stretching your side body. So we want to always twist our spine in 3 different directions. Twisted, side to side, lateral stretch, and then just like that cat-cow, opening and closing your spine. So those are the 3 positions that we want our spine to go. So in general, vinyasa-based and flow classes will be sequenced around poses in one of the categories that were mentioned above, depending on your level. The teacher will instruct you into a pose of varying levels. There's usually modifications, like I offered that chair modification before. Each category of asana benefits different areas of your bodies and has different energetic effects when practiced correctly. So for instance, a class is focused on back bends, opens up your heart, your whole heart area. So trying to shift perspective, but that's also connected to like your respiration. So oftentimes if you suffer from allergies, a heart opening pose might be good for you. Or mentally, if you suffer from areas of insecurity, so maybe you're insecure with yourself, heart opening poses are good for you. So if you want to go deeper into this, you learn more about the chakra system, which I have a series for that as well. So that might be of interest in you. All right, so let's get started. Our first pose of the day is going to be downward facing dog. Well, technically, you know that it's not our first pose of the day. It's more like our third pose of the day. All right, so downward facing dog. You're going to be on your mat on all fours. So that same cat-cow flow. We can curl our toes under, press back to down dog. Your body is in a V position. Pedal your feet out, rock your hips. Hopefully that feels really nice. So that's down dog. It's a bit of an inversion. It's an inversion that during pregnancy classes, you really shouldn't be upside down, but this is an inversion that we'll do during a pregnancy class. So this inversion is good for everybody. Our second pose will actually be a modification for this pose. So let this just today be an opportunity for you to try the pose and then learn the modifications on things that you can do instead in just a moment. So just a little bit about down dog while you hold your down dog. This is a beginner's levels pose, which introduces the idea of inverting the body, taking the hips and heart higher than the head, and it also begins drawing length to the spine, as well as stretching and strengthening the spine. So downward facing dog introduces a basic balance challenge as well. It stretches your hips, your hamstrings, your calves, as well as your quadriceps, ankles. It opens your chest, your shoulders. It tones your arms and abdominals. So what else is going on? It calms the brain and helps relieve stress, mild depression. It energizes the body. It stretches the shoulders, the hamstrings, the calves, the arches, the hands. It strengthens the arms, the legs. It helps relieve the symptoms of menopause. Anyone out there going through that? This is a great pose for you. It relieves menstrual discomfort as well when done with the head supported. And it also helps prevent osteoporosis. Yes, osteoporosis can be prevented. So I'm going to show you some modifications for downward facing dog now that you've had a chance to try it out. Okay. So if you have a chair, you can do downward dog like this instead. Doesn't it look the same? So if you don't want to go completely upside down, that's an option. If you don't have a chair, you can also do it right at the wall. So down dog, down dog. We're going to move the down dog to a flow. So remember we did cat-cow flow? Let's do down dog flow. So round your spine, come to plank. Round your spine, press to down dog. Round to plank. Round to down dog. Try that a couple of times. So the modification for this down dog flow is to go back to the cat-cow flow. So that's one of the reasons that we did the cat-cow flow just a little bit ago. So see how that feels? And then we're going to move into our second pose of the day. So our second pose of the day is child's pose. So from down dog, we drop to our knees. We take our toes to touch. So take your toes to touch and push back. Toes touch, push back. Butt is on your heels. Rest down on your forearms. This is when your handy blocks or pillows come in handy. You want a chair to take your forehead to rest on your blocks. If you're a little more flexible, your forehead can touch the mat. And if you're somewhere in between, you can also have your fists under your forehead. So ultimately, we're trying to rest our third eye, the space in between your eyebrows, on something. This is, I mentioned a few moments ago, the chakras. This is chakra number 6. So it's a way to stimulate that chakra. Also get rid of the L lines or the 11 lines in between your eyebrows, your third eye. While you're here, you can massage your third eye. So rock your head side to side, massaging your third eye. While you're holding it in child's pose, I'm going to tell you a little bit about it. When life gets to be too much, relax in child's pose. It's an extremely grounding and centering pose. Return to it at any point during most yoga mat classes or overwhelming life situations. We have a joke in the yoga community that's wherever you are, if you can't handle it, just instead of stop, drop, and roll, stop, drop, and child's pose. So same thing when you're going through a yoga class. Anytime you need to modify something, take a break. This is your go-to pose, child's pose. This pose introduces deep belly breathing, and it's a great modification for downward facing dog. All right, moving into our next pose, which is plank pose. Holding plank for just like 1 minute might seem overwhelming, but after some practice, it's a great way to help with osteoporosis. Here's some reasons to do it anyway, so I'm going to show you it right now. So here's your plank, modified, drop onto your knees. Lift, lower. So try that a few times on your own. See how that feels. So it strengthens your core, it increases your muscle definition, it strengthens metabolism, heightens metabolism, reduces back pain, gives you better posture, improves your balance, enhances bone and joint health, boosts mood, relieves stress, so much more. So most people don't like it, but it's a good pose to try. All right, so now moving into our next pose, cobra pose. This is a back bend. Remember I mentioned we do back bends? So from plank pose, we drop to our knees, drop your hips. Here's your cobra pose. Round your spine, press to child's pose. Come forward, and drop your hips, cobra pose. Round to child's pose. Come forward to cobra pose. Try that a couple of times on your own. Stretches your lower back. Stretches the muscles in the shoulders, the chest, abdominals, decreases stiffness in the lower back, strengthens the arms, the shoulders, increases in flexibility of your spine, your heart, your chest, improves menstrual irregularities, elevates moods, firms and tones the butt, and invigorates the heart. You can do cobra in low, medium, or high, so I just want to point that out for a moment. So this is what I call cobra, what we were just in. But cobra can be done all the way down here, baby cobra. You can easily move your hands around. So if you're feeling too much when you're here, do baby cobra. If you're really flexible, you'd eventually lift to upward facing dog. See how my quadriceps are off the mat? That's deeper. So I call this low cobra, regular cobra, and high cobra. Okay, so those are your cobras. Moving into our next pose is locust pose. So it's similar to cobra pose. So this one will be pretty quick. On your belly, you're going to reach your hands behind you. Instead, lift your chin, chest, lift your hands. Hold it here. You can stay here, or you can attempt to lift your feet as well. So full locust. Lower, inhale, lift. Exhale, lower, inhale, lift. And remember, you don't have to lift your feet. If it's a little too much to lift your feet, skip the foot part. So last two poses are, a little bit about a locust pose. Stretches the shoulders, the chest, the belly, the thighs. It improves your posture, it stimulates abdominal organs, and it helps relieve stress. So take it up a notch by adding on lifting your feet. Next is bow pose. Oh, also cobra. You can make this swimming cobra. But we're moving on to bow pose. So bow pose, we bend our knees. We find our hands behind. Clasp your fingers, extend your arms, and that's it. If you can't find your hands, that's where a handy strap comes in. So, if you take the strap instead, you bend your knees, you're here. If you're moving into full bow pose, you can have the strap on your feet. You can hold it here or back here. So one of those options is pull your feet in. But eventually, your bow is going to look like this. Finding your feet, lifting up. So take it in stages. While you're in bow, breathe. Inhale, belly fills up. Exhale, belly sinks. There's a deep back bend, opens up the heart center, and allows energy and oxygen to be sent around the body. Stimulates the entire front of the body while also engaging the back muscles and psoas muscles. Bow also improves posture, stimulates the abdomen and neck. And even for me, just running up and down to do bow pose, got my heart rate up. All right, our next and final pose is called hero pose. So this is a great recentering pose. It recenters the spine. It's also a back bend. It can be a deep back bend. And it provides stretch to the hip, the thighs, the ankles, the feet. It's also significantly improves circulation and helps to relieve indigestion. So let's try our last pose, hero. So you'll start out on your knees. See how that feels. Lift up. Take a pillow under you. Sit on that. Is that still too much? Stack your pillows higher. So you could do hero really high. Here, open your ankles out so they're wider than your hips. Fill out your quadriceps. As you become more flexible there, you're trying to lower, maybe lower here, maybe lower here. So see lots of different variations of hero pose. So that's when doing it in your own space is a little better, because oftentimes we look over and we're like, well, I want to try how low she's going. But then we pop our knee out of the socket. We don't want that. We want to listen to our body and do the variation that works for you. Modify. Okay, so our next one. Moving on from the poses into meditation. So another aspect of yoga, which in any good yoga class will incorporate, no matter what the style, is an introduction to meditation. That's as far as we'll go today with that. But meditation and yoga go hand in hand with one another, as while yoga draws attention and awareness to the body, meditation draws deeper awareness to our thoughts and our mind. So come back to your easy seated pose. So meditation is for when your body and mind unify. Again, going back to the definition of yoga, which is union, to return to a more sustainable state of balance. Allows us to function better, achieve tasks to a higher level of productivity than before, or maybe just simply to be in a happier state of mind. So come back to that easy seated pose, thumb and pointer touch, close your eyes, take 3 nice deep cleansing breaths. Inhale through your nose, exhale through your mouth. So you'll learn on your yoga journey that coining yourself as yogi, or yogini if you're a female, simply isn't accurate if you don't have a regular practice in meditation. Many studies today offer introductory classes. I said I had my 3-week series if you'd like to go deeper into that. It's time to tune into not just exercising your body, but exercising your mind. That's meditation. You'll learn the skills in that 3-week series and different variations of trying to find a meditation that works more for you. Meditations can be done through affirmations. I have an affirmation meditation challenge, also a journaling one, or it could just be simply the 21-day challenge that I mentioned. You'll receive guided meditations daily. So upon conclusion, yoga is an ancient spiritual, meditative, and physical practice that has many interpretations, benefits, and uses in our everyday life. So while there are many styles to choose from, each one has their own pros and cons depending on your history, their corresponding history and lineage. The practice of yoga is ultimately an incredibly personal thing, which can be beneficial on many different levels. It's backed by science, recommended by healthcare professionals, and steeped in history and cultural background, and is definitely a serious contender in the realm of health and wellness trends. It's not going anywhere. So I hope you'll join me for the next 3 weeks by signing up. So just if you've signed up for this, I'll also include the link here. I'll put that before we close today. And we're going to do them via Zoom. So if I get at least 4 signups, it'll be more personal experience. I'll give you a Zoom link and we'll do it that way. You'll do the 30 poses. You'll receive your link to a weekly meditation that you can try. If you're feeling a bit overwhelmed at all this information and are afraid that your yoga practice might require sacrifices in other areas of life, I want you to know to stop your thoughts right there. That's going back to ahimsa, number 1. That's a harmful thought. Let it go. Yoga really can be done anywhere. It's at home. You don't even have to leave your home for this series. It's a big reason why we're doing this virtually. There's no commute time, and it's in the comfort of your home. So once you have the basic knowledge, what you learned today, and a little bit of practice behind you, what we'll be learning over the next month, you'll start to really be able to reap the benefits no matter where you find yourself in life. So thank you so much for joining me, and I really hope you've learned something valuable. Feel free to reach out to me. This is a great way to kick off spring. Let me know if you have any questions. Thank you so much for joining today. Let me add that link in the bottom here. If you'd like to sign up for the 3 weeks series that follows up with this, you'd go to my events page right there. If you've already signed up on my events class, and that's how you got the link today, then you'll also receive the how to join me for the 3 weeks. And again, the 3 weeks will only run if I have 3 or 4 people signed up. So make sure to let me know if you'd like to join. And I hope you got something out of this. Thank you so much. We end all yoga classes with namaste, which is the light in me, honors the light in you, and we come together. Namaste. Thank you so much.